Edgar saw the future. Yeah, he did. He left Nigeria before Japa became a thing. Like I call him Japa before Japa. This was about when Buhari came to government and everything started just started. There were signs, but some of us still said, "Oh, things will get better." But he's like, you know what? I don't think things are gonna get better. I'm getting out of here. Enjoy. Welcome. Happy to do this with you, man, to be honest. And as usual, I'll just go straight to the deep end with this thing, first of all.
Are we in the pool?
Yes, we're in the pool already, immigration pool.
Not that pool of IRCC pool, not that one.
That pool, God. But not today. You left Nigeria 2016, like what? And that it wasn't a thing then. Like, so what were you thinking of then? Like when you left at that time?
I like the fact they say it wasn't a thing then, because looking back now, honestly, 2016 it really wasn't a thing then. Like it has been since COVID, and it's almost a thing.
Yeah.
I think yesterday I saw on someone's status how to move to Canada from Beggar on that bridge. I'm like, really, people, really? Yeah. So I think for me, I'll say 2016 was when I moved, but my daughter was born in 2015 in Port Harcourt. Yeah. And I think for me, having lived in Nigeria most of my life, I did my master's in the UK in Scotland, 2007, 2008. So I mean, I've been to the UK a couple of times and all that, but I lived in the UK for a couple of years, but I lived in Nigeria from 2008 till 2016. I just realized for me that was Buhari's first tenure, if I recall. So I just said, even if things were not as bad, but I could see things were not getting better. I said, you know what? Let me hop on this train while it's available. Give my daughter a stable environment to grow in. I'm not saying Nigeria was a hellhole, no, but I'm saying, no, what, fine. Looking at the way things are, best to do for her what my dad, I won't say couldn't do or didn't do for me, but just for me, that was just my own perspective. I mean, also an opportunity to, like they say, live, work, and play in a functional environment. Abroad was not doing me. I mean, I'd lived in Scotland for 2 years. I'd lived in the UK. So it wasn't a case of I want to go abroad. No. I think it was that perspective. Okay, fine. You have a child coming in. And that whole perception in Nigeria, when you're doing something about abroad, you code it till you travel.
Yeah.
I called my colleagues at work, people who had kids who were like in their maybe less than 10 years. I'm like, listen, I'm doing this thing though, and I'm not doing it because I like abroad. I was working in Rwanda. I had a good job, and I wasn't hungry. I wasn't suffering. But like, I'm doing this thing for this reason. So if you're able to, please do, and all that. So I think that was the major motivation to move when I did. And looking back, no regrets.
No regrets.
None at all. None at all.
Now that you talk about Buhari's first term, like it's you just reminded me of the trauma.
Trauma.
Bro, it was trauma. I mean, I love my country, to be honest, but it was traumatic. I remember I tried to run a shoe business with my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started before Buhari came in, and it was picking up. And I watched that business like go down in 6 to 7 months.
Wow.
Like, I think we started it the first 6 months we were already doing like, at that point in time, I forget what dollar was, 150. Right? So the first 6 months, no marketing, just usual selling. We were probably doing give or take. We had done like 3 million naira or something in sales. Like, it's pretty good. That was pretty good because I forgot how much that was in dollars. And then it just went, and I actually had to go back to go and try to get a job. That's how bad it was. Like, I had to go back to get a job because it was obvious that if I stayed in there, my brother wasn't married, he didn't have a kid, I had a kid. It was just going to be problems, you know. But I wasn't like you. You left. So I don't say ran away. You saw the future and you walked away.
So I think, sorry, just to
Sure.
piggyback off what you said about dollar was 160. I think some weeks ago, someone who's trying to move now was like asking like what they should do. So I went back to because I have an Excel sheet I used in 2014 to do my plan. So I saw the rates I used for my IELTS and all my fees. Dollar there was 145 in 2014.
Jesus Christ.
2014 it was 145 when I submitted my application. We moved in 2016. When we moved in 2016, dollar was about near 180 to 200.
Yeah, it was about that. Yeah, I was
saying, I've lost money. I was complaining. Now what's dollar? You get? So it's not, it seems like a lot of years, but when you put it in perspective, it's not. It's just, it happened to everybody. So there's no waiting to say, okay, fine, when it comes down, I'll do it. No. You get?
Just do it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I say this curious a lot in these recordings, but yeah, it's what it is. You know, out of all the people you're speaking to then, that, hey, I'm moving, how many of them moved? How many of them are still in Nigeria up to now? Has any one of them reached out to you and say they regret staying back? Like,
I have a friend whom I won't call his name, but for a couple of years after I moved, he sent me a message. How Canada? I say, bro, go and Google Canada. I said, what is how? So that whole how Canada? So it took him a while because he said, fear of the unknown. You leave what you have. You're going somewhere to start again. I said, listen, I'm not going because, quote unquote, I like abroad. If you're saying how Canada, I say, bro, go to Google and put Canada in Google. Show you how Canada. So, but for me, the essence is, it takes a lot to make that decision right. It takes a lot to make that move. And most of them who I told then didn't move or didn't even start making a move till after COVID. So I moved 2016. I didn't go back to Nigeria till 2022 for my brother's wedding and all that. So when I went back, it was when I saw my friends I saw like 3 whom I told, whom had the money, who could afford it, money and all that. I told them then. So it was then they were doing IELTS. I said, hey, yeah, sorry. Because once you hit 40 and
it's hard.
One birthday goes on the 40 and keeps going, it gets tougher.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, but I mean, to be fair, I think, there's that saying that goes, it's when you wake up, there's your money.
Yes.
And for me, I wasn't forcing it, say, come to Canada. Canada is heaven. No. I said, listen, give yourself and your family an opportunity to do this when you can. That was all I was saying. Because even the whole come to Canada, like I tell people, look, you're moving continents. You're not moving Lekki to Chevron Estate. You're moving continents. Give yourself some grace. It's going to be hard.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard. I think what puts it in perspective is when you realize you're packing your life in 2 or 3 suitcases plus excess luggage. That's when it hits you. It's not when I've gotten my passport, start my visa. It's when you realize you're packing your life in 2 or 3 suitcases and you're coming to somewhere. God help you that you land your winter.
Gosh, yes.
Yeah. So
yes, man.
Basically, to answer your big, some are still there. Some have literally just woken up. Or you see, you're waking up on the wrong side of 40. You're waking up on the wrong side of the exchange rate. You're dealing with a lot. You get, and even the come to Canada, like Ayo Owoduni said some weeks ago. He said now is not really the time to make the move. And I'm not saying don't come, but coming now, you're dealing with a lot of hang-ups, Coming now, I mean, there's the cost of living crisis going on out here. There's the layoffs going on. I'm in HR. I know last year I was looking for a job for 5.5 months, but let's leave that alone. So you come here with your qualification and all that, but it's what it is, and there's no best time to do. So if you have, you see, I still tell them, if you have the capacity to do it now. Yeah.
So I'm going to dig into something. I'm going to explore something you just talked about, the fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to, because I know you're in HR and you help people do stuff like settling CVs and stuff like that. I think the first question is around this fear of the unknown is, how did you handle that when you landed? Like, how did you transition?
For me, I honestly, looking back, I don't think I had the fear of the unknown. I knew, yes. I think maybe the edge I had was because I had left Nigeria before, doing my MBA in Scotland, at school in Scotland. All. So for me, I wasn't really, I was looking forward to, okay, fine, it's going to be new. But for me, it was that whole, you're coming to a first world country. You expect, some level of stability, and, they will accept your foreign education. It won't be hard. You speak English and all that. So for me, there was no fear of them. He was actually looking forward to, okay, fine, let's see how we make this work here. So
Yeah.
you land and all that. And of course, the first thing you want to do is get a job. You get and that getting a job is not just about, and I hadn't touched my resume in over 8 years because I worked in Rwanda between 2008 to 2016. But I worked in head office for 4 years. I worked in Port Harcourt for the week sector, 2013 to 2016. So I had like a wide HR experience. But coming to Canada, I think for me, when I say this now, I mean, it's a bit funny, but then it wasn't funny because I prepped my resume. I mean, my name on the video is Nwachukwu Edgar Onyeagba, right? Yeah. I mean, in Nigeria, very few people know me as Edgar. They know me as Nwachukwu Onyeagba. You get? So I did my resume, had my MBA in bold. I put Scotland in bold so they will see it's where that is abroad. I did all that, sent resumes out. I think my first 3 weeks, no, not one. I'm not saying call, not one reply. Despite the whole, okay, we see your resume. I kept sending resumes out, and it was the Nwachukwu Onyeagba on the resume. There was no Edgar on the resume. It was Nwachukwu Onyeagba. I kept sending resumes, and at some point, I said, "Come, is my internet even working? This one I'm not even getting replies." But I kept at it, and it's not just sending resumes. I mean, I went for like job fairs, networking sessions. I actually enrolled in a program for new immigrants. I think it's done by the Immigrants Settler Society of BC. Nice program for people who come, teach about resume, all that. My very first 2 days there, they called me and said, "This program is too small for you. You have it." I'm like, "It's okay. I'm new. I want to learn." So during mock interviews, it was meant to be like mock interviews for about 8 of us. I dressed formally. They go, "You've addressed." I'm like, "It's mock interview. You have to dress formally and all that." So they could see you're very professional. I'm like, "Listen, where we come from, we're trained speaking," because they go, "Your English is so good." I said, "Which English?" It's not for now. English. They go, "Your English is so good." I'm like, "In Nigeria, we're trained speaking English. So what's the biggie there?" So for me, it was a lot, but all that I think so like the month 2 now or month 3. Then I have a friend who moved here like 10 years before I moved. So he told me, "Come, Nwachukwu, you have my English name, Abi." He said, "You know what? Remove that one. Is your English name in your birth certificate?" I told him it's on my paper. He says, "You know what? Remove that Nwachukwu first. Just pack it one side. Put your English name as your first name and send out your resume." So see, that was all I did. I used Edgar as my first name. I didn't touch anything in my experience. Just changed my name. The same resume I sent out. That same day, I got 3 callbacks for interview. I was like, it was the name, Okay, and fine. I mean, I'm in HR. Honestly, I can say a long name. I'm cool with calling you, asking how do you pronounce your name at the minimum, rather than just putting the resume somewhere. So for 3 months, no call back because of Nwachukwu. I put Edgar and I get call back. Now I, I know it's hard. There are people who don't have an English name, so what do? I've heard stories of people who shorten their names, But and this is just to get a foot in the door, not even to get just to get a call back. Yeah, so for me, I think that was the eye opener to say, okay, even if there was no fear of the unknown, it's a hard door to crack. So I cracked that. Then of course you now get interviews and you get the normal. You don't have Canadian experience. I'm like, time out. I spent X amount to come here, and if then it was CICO. If IRCC says you qualify to be in Canada under Fairly Skilled Worker Program, which it was then. So I qualified to come here as a professional skilled worker, right? But to get a job, I don't qualify because I don't have Canadian experience. But I think I'm glad now. I think in Toronto and somewhere in BC, they've started ruling out that as the criteria because you have, and I'm not
Yeah,
saying just
it's
Nigeria.
ridiculous. It's
You
ridiculous.
have immigrants who come from other countries who have wonderful experience and they can't get a basic job because of Canadian experience. I mean, and I hear you, it's just having worked in Canada with Canadians, but I'm saying for the heck of it, give me a chance to work. Then you see, I have some experience. Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous, to be honest. Like, I honestly, I do. I mean, it's ridiculous. I understand the sense behind it.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Canada is a very different culture. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember reading a book before I landed, something about the Canadian work culture. It's a very different culture, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But how does your culture get better if all you always do is being insular and saying, "Oh, X has to fully understand your culture before they work with you," or X has to have proven that they have worked in Canada before they work with you?
When they have not been in Canada for X amount. So it's like catch-22, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, how do I get the Canadian experience if I don't work in Canada?
Yeah. So for me, those barriers, I mean, I did odd jobs and it's not about, I didn't sweep the streets, but I did like jobs which I knew weren't what I came here to do. I had to pay bills. I had to eat, right? Yeah, so it was tough breaking it because I think I used to joke and call myself a fraud. So I was working in a recycle plant for about 8 months. So I have to lose 2 hours pay. If I have an interview downtown, I'll lose 2 hours pay. I'll come back home, remove my high vest and my jeans, change to my suit, dash downtown to go and speak English for interview. Next day I'll go back to the plant.
Gosh.
So and I'm not saying everybody must do that. I mean, some people are lucky; they land on Monday, get a job in Microsoft on Tuesday, all well and good. But the narrative for most immigrants who come here, it's tough breaking in. So that's why what I look back and didn't do. You don't come here and you want to stay with Nigerians. You want to just stay with your own. I mean, there's nothing wrong in having a community, but I remember moving and realizing, look, you're here for a reason. It's diverse for a reason. I think you grow more when you're open to new connections and new possibilities. Yeah. And looking back, most of my good connections have been people who are not Nigerians.
Yeah. I do think there's a balance there. I do think that, I feel like there's the extreme of you come and then you just stay with your community.
Yeah.
But I think
you won't grow. You won't grow that way.
Exactly. Yeah, you won't grow. But I think you need to have a way of saying, because let me try and explain it this way. So you know what code switching is, where when you come, you're switching.
Yeah.
It's mentally exhausting. It's actually mentally exhausting.
It's tough.
It's mentally exhausting to code switch. So I feel like you need your community because you need that place where
You
you
can
can be
you.
yourself
Be
without
you, yeah.
having to switch.
Yeah.
But then you're also it's mentally exhausting trying to fit in all the time. And
Yeah.
so I tell people that because some people are go like, oh no, like I want to fully avoid my Nigerian community or whatever. I'm like,
You
it's
don't do
much
that.
easier. It's much
Yeah.
easier when you're younger. So if you come here as you're in university, I feel like it's much easier for you. If you come here with a kid and a wife or
You
with a
don't
partner,
do that to yourself. You don't do that to yourself. That's harming yourself. You don't do that to yourself.
yeah, exactly. Like it's exhausting. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, so you need to find a balance. I have a friend who argues that no, Nigerians no. I'm like, no. You need to find a balance between two. You need to find your community,
Yeah.
but you just need to understand that your community is a broader one. It's both Nigerians and people from
Yeah.
all over the world because that's the
Exactly.
beauty of coming to Canada. Like,
Exactly.
why don't you learn how to eat the Vietnamese food or dance Italian dance or just whatever you need to do?
True. Yeah. Eat poutine and the rest, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I haven't eaten mac and cheese yet, though. I mean, well, I'm lactose intolerant, so probably that's why. But
You're what?
I'm lactose intolerant. Like I got here and I
dress back.
See, Ross, I don't know if it's the milk here, to be honest, but I got here and I can't take milk anymore. So
Levels.
yeah, like in Nigeria, I would take milk, but I got here and I couldn't take milk anymore. I don't know whether someone said maybe the milk in Nigeria doesn't have lactose all this while. That's what happened.
Let them catch you.
No,
Let them catch you.
The problem is that maybe in Nigeria there was no lactose in the milk. That's why you thought you could take milk. You've come where there's lactose and your body has clearly adjusted to it. You know, that kind of thing. What I was going to ask here.
Yeah.
So, 2016 to now, that's give or take, that's 10 years. And I know you're in the HR space. Yeah, it's about 10. It's 2016.
Wow.
No, it's actually
9.
8 years. Sorry, not 8, 9 years. 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. This is 2024. Yes, 8 years.
Yeah.
Is it still the same, or is it still that much? All those things, because I know that I feel like Canada has changed in this past 8 years. A lot has changed. Do you think it's still the same way? Is it still that hard for immigrants to get jobs? Do all those biases still exist? I don't call them biases. Maybe they're just I don't know what to call them.
No. Let's call it what it is. I mean, they are biases, and I think I'll start from the word bias. I think, like you said, Canada has evolved a lot. I think, and even with the pandemic happening, the work culture has positively improved, where they've now realized let's walk the talk when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'll pick on the D, diversity, because that's one thing Canada, should I say, portrays and says we're diverse, we're welcoming. I'm like, we can't be diverse and welcoming if we're not even fair to be open to engage at the barest minimum. So yes, I'll say it has improved a bit. It may not be where people expect it to be, but I don't think it's as bad as it was when I came. I said that because I've helped people who, and if I'm helping you do your resume, I'm not saying the first thing I do is your name. No, I don't focus on just the name. I focus on your resume is not just you're doing a CV to say I worked in Total, I worked in Shell. No, two core things that I look at the resume is your resume answers two questions, and this is me maybe divulging a HR code. Your resume answers two questions. Basically,
yes, I'm all ears.
It answers. You should answer the question. So what? So what? Meaning, okay, you worked in PwC, you worked in Nestle as a HR manager, as a construction manager. So what? So what? Meaning, what did you do? What did you achieve? What value did you add? What did you bring to the table? If your first 3 bullet points of your resume doesn't answer that question, it's a black hole. It's a black hole. If your resume doesn't show numbers, and I'm not saying you can find people use ChatGPT, AI, do that, but you should quantify, okay, you saved revenue by how much? You saved time by how much? So if your resume is just saying, oh, I did this. So if it's not answering those two questions, I think the typical, I'm not in talent acquisition, but the typical recruitment person takes maximum 8 seconds to skim a resume. And I'm not saying
Wow.
the AI, but when a physical human being is looking at a resume and is only looking for keywords, you're saying, wow, check the layoffs that happened last year, this year. Where's the time? So if your resume is not cutting it right from your very first profile bit, if you're not showing what you've done, then they're moving on to your next one. So that's why I always try to see and look back. When you say has it changed, it's changed positively because I think there's also been loads of um, training on unconscious bias. Because what happened to me, that name thing,
Yes. Yeah.
let's call it what it is. It was
Yeah.
bias.
Yeah.
Because I walked into every interview and they go, oh, you're the Edgar. I must say, yeah, I'm the Black Edgar. You know, I've been in interviews and I've been told your English is so good. So really, I'm like, okay, you expected English should be not somehow good. Yeah, I mean, we can laugh now, but then it wasn't
It's not
funny.
funny. It's still not.
You get-
I've gotten it. I've gotten it
You
before.
get-
I got
and-
it in 2021.
I'm
I
saying,
got it by gosh.
and because you're looking for a job, you take it, you keep a straight face because you just want to get an offer letter. You get so, and because and I'm not saying it's easy to walk those shoes. No, it's not. But I give it to the Canadian job market. There have been loads of training on bias, DEI, really walking the talk when it comes to that, because you realize you're dealing with people here. You're dealing with people who have pressed pause on their lives, wherever they lived, whatever they had, and they've come to start again. So that's why I say it takes courage to do that. You didn't move, you're not moving houses, you're moving continents. So even the immigrants, I say, listen, don't come here on Monday and you think on Wednesday you're going downtown to work in. I say, listen, give yourself a break. Relax. I say, and I'm not saying relax and go and chill, no, but be realistic with your expectations. Don't feel
Yeah.
there's still the whole need for Canadian experience. Like you, I get the sense behind it, but when it's looked as if that's the be all and end all, then that's a problem. Yeah.
So I think probably I'm just going to round up now and just ask. This is more like a very practical question.
Yeah.
If you had to say, like, what are the 3, 4, 5 things or biggest mistakes you see people make with their CVs, immigrants especially?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think they are, and how do you think they can fix them? Just a couple of tips to just help people who are just looking to crack the Canadian HR code.
I think for me, honestly, I think I would say it's the structure, because everyone wants to, even people who just land, they have their perception of the Canadian format of a resume. Yes, there's a format, but not all companies follow that Canadian format. For me, I'll say just keep your resume, keep it straight to the point, keep it simple. Don't make it overly wordy. Then don't be heavy on listing tasks. Rather, demonstrate value add and show numbers. And I'm not saying just throwing numbers anyhow, but be strategic in your showing numbers. Don't just list, I did recruitment for Robert Half, example. You did recruitment, then what happened? You get? So you're able to demonstrate value in a bullet point so they see, okay, is this one worth a call? Because if they're not calling you for that first phone interview,
you're not nothing.
you're not doing anything. You get? So for me, I'll say treat your resume and your LinkedIn profile as your marketing documents. Those two are what gives you access to, at the minimum, a phone interview. Because I mean, I like that you mentioned you're doing like marketing back in Nigeria, or that you know, when you're marketing a product, you're marketing value. So look at yourself. Even before the interview, I'm not talking about dressing for success and no, let's leave the interview first. Your resume. If your resume is not, you can use Grammarly to do your spell check, all that, but like even I rather use your pen and paper to check your language, check your tenses. But if your resume is not giving me a value add, if it's not showing me numbers, if you're just listing tasks, it's not it's not working for me, like they say, it's not working. I guess. So yeah, so for me, because those are your marketing documents, so
Yeah.
those things give you a foot in the door. Those things give you access to a minimum a callback fee for the interview. Yeah.
I think I should send you my resume for you to pay you for the service.
Nah, nah.
But thank you so much. This has been really, really good.
No
Thank you for the
worries,
tips.
Jose.
I'll title this the Canadian cracking the Canadian HR code.
If you insist. I'm not the one that gives you the code to crack. If you insist.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As usual, as I always say, please like, share, subscribe. If you know someone who find this useful, please send it to them. And if you know someone who you think has a great story we should talk to, please send them our way. Thank you so much.